Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this Act Now webinar, GDPR, PECR and marketing. In the next hour or so, we're going to be looking at the main legal provisions that you have to consider if you're doing any form of marketing, including using email, text messages, location-based services, etc. The rules. The laws which relate to marketing, primarily we've got the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR as it's known. We're going to be looking at that. What does that say about marketing? Whenever you're gathering and using information about people, GDPR applies, replacing, of course, last year, the Data Protection Act 1998. But of course, some forms of marketing will also involve PECR, the Privacy and Electronic Communications Regulations. I say some forms of marketing, any marketing which is direct marketing, either to individuals, but also to organizations as well. If you're using email, telephone, text messages, even fax, if you've still got a fax machine, then PECR will apply as well. Okay. Let us move on then. In the words of John Burko, the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Okay, so GDPR, it's about processing personal information, any personal information for any reason really. We looked at the marketing perspective, but PECR is all about processing any information for the purpose of direct marketing via electronic means. And as I said before, the Commissioner can fine you up to £500,000 if you get it wrong, just this morning. So you're not listening to a recording. It is the 16th of April. Well, some people may be later on if they buy this recording. But at the moment, 16th of April, the Information Commissioner has fined an organization or a funeral plan firm, was fined £80,000 for making unlawful marketing calls to people who made it explicitly clear that they did not wish to receive them. 52,000 calls were made to people who had registered with the telephone preference service, which of course is against the law. And in particular, the Commissioner took account of the fact that these calls, funeral plans, were made to elderly individuals. So £80,000 fine under PECR. Let's look at the rules. Claire, you've got a question. Good question. Is a boosted post on Facebook okay for people living in a particular area about our activities as a housing association? That's a very good question, Claire. So a boosted post on Facebook. I assume you pay Facebook for this post, and it will identify people living in a particular area so that they, and only they, receive a message about your activities. Okay. What do we think, folks? Is that, first of all, is it marketing? Raise your hand if it's marketing. It is marketing. Yes, they are pushing their goods or services. Right. Next question is, are you, Claire, as a housing association, processing personal data about these people? No. Anybody else agree that it is a no? Raise your hand. Hand function, Galina, is to the left of your control panel, or you can just type your answer in. Carol, not sure what a booster post is. I think basically you pay Facebook. They identify people living in a particular area from their algorithms, and then whatever message you send, it appears on their Facebook sort of screen. I think that's how it works, isn't it, Claire? Yes. In that situation, Claire, I don't think you yourself are processing personal data. You are doing marketing, and Facebook is doing marketing, but you yourself do not know who those individuals are. So in that sense, GDPR would not apply. It's personal data, Haley, yes, but not you. You have to be processing the personal data. The algorithm is not personal data in itself, but the algorithm can elicit, obviously, personal information, but you're not doing it, Deborah. The Housing Association isn't doing it, it's Facebook that's doing it. So it's about Facebook's privacy, and they've got it pretty tied up, although it's questionable, but that's a matter for them. All you're using is asking them to do it. They're the ones who are the data controller in that respect of that data. You don't have it. You can't identify individuals. So a boosted Facebook message to going to individuals living in a particular area, I don't think you are processing personal data. So I don't think GDPR applies, and PECR doesn't apply either. My humble opinion, Claire. Feel free to disagree, or anybody else. Sinead, they're not processing on your behalf. They're processing in the sense that, yes, they are, but it has to be, for them to be a data processor, they have to be processing your data on your behalf. And in this case, you have no personal data to share with them, apart from, I would like to know, I would like to send this message to anybody who's living in WF12 9PA. That's all. So they are not processing your personal data on your behalf. Therefore, they're a data controller in their own right. They have to comply with GDPR, but no problem as far as you're concerned. Okay, right, let us move on. Feel free to carry on discussing. We can always have another go at it later on. So let's look at PECR then. GDPR applies to any communication, any processing. PECR is all about direct marketing communications. Direct marketing communications. What is a direct marketing communication? What is marketing? The communication by whatever means of any advertising or marketing material which is directed to particular individuals. Note, any advertising or marketing material which is directed to particular individuals. Okay, if it's you send out marketing material to the whole world, or to people living in a particular area but you don't know who those individuals are, you just send it by post, for example. It's a leaflet drop done by an individual to people living in an area. That is not direct marketing. Okay, and it has to be marketing. Marketing is more than just, though, goods or services. It's any promotional material. So any information that you are pushing out, promoting the aims and objectives of your organization, your functions, promoting support for your organization, that is also marketing. So a charity may send out emails just telling people what they are doing for the purposes of, I don't know, housing vulnerable individuals or famine relief in parts of the world. They're not asking for direct donations, but that is still marketing. A local authority may send out its annual sort of newsletter containing promoting what it's done in the area over the last year, etc., engaging with their service users. There's no goods or services being sold there, but it is still marketing. Same with political organizations. The SNP were criticized by the Information Commissioner because they were, prior to the previous independence vote, they were sending out automatic automatic sort of recordings to individuals on their phones, asking for their views. They said it was not marketing, but the commissioner said it was marketing. So the definition of marketing is very wide. What is not marketing, according to the Commissioner's guidance, is if you're sending out account information. So somebody's in arrears with their tenancy, and you as a housing association send them a reminder. Or local authority sends out reminders in relation to direct debit payments for council tax, etc. That is not marketing. Sending out newsletters is not normally marketing. Market research, or any kind of online customer satisfaction survey. So for example, if after this, automatically it's done anyway, after this event, an evaluation sheet will pop up, but also you may even get an email asking for your views. That's a customer satisfaction survey. PECR is not engaged because it is not marketing. Okay, so the definition here of marketing is very wide. Haley, you've asked a question. What about doing a leaflet drop providing information to residents regarding cladding works? Okay, the leaflet drop, are you using names and addresses, Haley, or is it a leaflet drop just to a particular area where your residents live? Is it just a leaflet, or is it addressed to specific residents? Just as leaflet to all customers in that area. Okay, that, whilst no names or addresses. Okay, so you are promoting, let's go back to the definition, communication about advertising or marketing, which is directed to particular, it is advertising or marketing material, but it's not directed to particular individuals. It is not marketing. Okay, second reason, Haley, why it's not marketing is because the PECR regulations in any event do not cover postal marketing. So even if you had names and addresses, GDPR would apply, but PECR would not apply. So PECR, direct marketing communications to anyone. It doesn't have to be to individuals. GDPR is about processing individuals' data. PECR also applies to corporate subscribers. And there are different rules depending on who you are marketing to. So for example, a charity may send out an email to individuals working for a local authority, or maybe working for Marks and Spencer's or local retailers. It manages to get hold of their email addresses, or maybe just guesses that anybody who works for Boots will work joe.smith@boots.co.uk. So the charity sends out information via email to those individuals, to their corporate email accounts, promoting, I don't know, payroll giving. You are doing marketing to a corporate subscriber. If the charity sent out emails to individuals' private email accounts, like their Hotmail or their Gmail account, that's an individual subscriber. Same if a charity or a local authority decides to ring up local businesses to tell them about grants in the area. You are marketing to a corporate subscriber. If you ring up individuals at home, that is an individual subscriber, and their rules are more relaxed depending on, under PECR, whether you're marketing to individuals or corporate organizations. Even though your target within the corporate organization may be an individual, the rules are still a bit more relaxed. So we'll talk about that. But PECR only applies if you're doing marketing via electronic means. So that's why I said faxes, if you still use them. I don't know, anybody? Hands up if your office still has a fax machine. Maybe you're keeping it as posterity, for posterity or archiving purposes, I don't know. No, nobody's got a fax machine anymore. But if you were doing marketing by fax, by phone call, cold calling individuals or organizations, or sending out emails or text alerts, that would, for the purpose of marketing, that would be covered by PECR. If you're doing mail shots addressed to individuals, GDPR would still apply, but PECR would not apply. Let's look at the rules then. If you're marketing to individuals, doing direct marketing to individuals, The general rule is that you need specific opt-in consent. You need specific opt-in consent to do any form of marketing to individuals apart from cold calling. Okay, so you send out automated calls these days. These automated calls, there's not a human at the other end of the phone. It's actually a machine, and depending on your answer through voice recognition, it will play you various messages. That is an automated call. You need specific opt-in consent to be able to do that when you're using that for to target individuals. Faxes, opt-in consent. Texts and emails, you need specific opt-in consent. Okay, so a local authority, leisure services has events coming up in the summer for kids. It has database or information about people who have previously attended those events before, and you want to send out text messages or email alerts to those individuals. You can only do that if you have their specific opt-in consent to do that. So remember, under GDPR, you may decide we have a legitimate interest. That's okay. That's makes it lawful from GDPR perspective. But then because you're doing text and email, PECR applies, and PECR says you need specific opt-in consent. There is an exception to that when you can rely on the soft opt-in, but I will explain that in a bit. Okay. Good question, Claire. What about the TPS? Can you call if it has been compared against this list? Okay. Now, when the TPS, telephone preference service, that is relevant when you want to make direct marketing calls to individuals using the telephone. So you want to ring up individuals in their homes to tell them that this week or in the next few weeks you've got an offer on, so that if individuals want large bulky items collected, there's 50% off. So recycling, 50% off the normal charge for collecting household sort of large bulky items. Normally it would be £100, now it's only £50. So you ring up individuals in their own homes or on their personal mobile phones. You can do it, that's the general rule, unless those individuals have told you they don't want those calls, and they could have told you directly, or alternatively, they may have registered their telephone number with the telephone preference service. If they have registered their telephone number with the telephone preference service, then you cannot do so. Claire, so if you have screened those calls against the telephone preference service, that's okay, as long as also, Claire, you have an internal list of people who have objected, and you check against that list as well to make sure those individuals haven't specifically told you that they do not want their telephone number to be used for cold calling. So you've got to check your telephone number with the TPS and check any internal lists of objections. Those are the rules in relation to individuals. Let's look at corporate subscribers. If you're marketing, again, automated calls, you still need opt-in consent, even where the telephone call is made to a company as opposed to an individual. Faxes, telephone, text messages, emails, phone calls, cold calling, etc., or emails promoting your goods or your services or your organization to corporate email addresses or corporate telephone numbers, it's okay, you can do it, unless the individual has opted out. Now, fax and email, they can tell you directly. With the phone, they can register their telephone number with the corporate telephone preference service. So if they've registered with the corporate telephone preference service, again, you need to check your numbers before doing any kind of marketing using the phone. If it's to individuals in their own homes or private phone numbers, telephone preference service. If it's corporate telephone numbers, then it's corporate telephone preference service, as well as any internal list. So the rules relating to corporate subscribers are much more relaxed. We've talked about consent. What's the definition of consent? Same as GDPR now. Freely given, specific, informed, indication, signifying agreement. That is consent. And the guidance produced by the Information Commissioner, which you can find on her website, says that you should go into more detail in terms of consent. So that means that it's good practice not just to say, tick this box if you're happy to receive marketing material, but give them the option by email, by post, by telephone, by recorded call, so that they know exactly, and you know exactly what they have agreed to. Going back to the rules then, automated calls then, remember Regulation 19, you need specific consent from everyone, whether they are corporate subscriber or an individual, it doesn't matter. So charities often ring up, as I say, local businesses and other businesses encouraging donations. Check your telephone numbers. Make sure you have specific opt-in consent. £350,000 fine. Missold Products UK made automated calls, 75 million of those. Recorded messages primarily promoting PPI compensation claims. Marketing, just to recap, you can send marketing faxes if you're still doing this to organizations, but you need individuals' consent unless they have registered their number with the fax preference service. Not relevant anymore. Live telephone calls are okay. Both individuals and organizations can opt out, though. Regulation 21. Remember, you cannot call anybody who has been registered with the TPS or who has registered with the corporate telephone preference service. That's the TPS there. A firm in Maidstone was fined £50,000 making unwanted calls to phone numbers listed on the TPS. And remember, you've also got to keep a list of people that you have called that may not have registered on the TPS, but they tell you during the call, and you must accept their opt-out during the call and register them on your own internal records to say they do not wish to have marketing phone calls. And text messages and emails, remember, there is no prohibition on sending to corporate subscribers or indeed to corporate subscribers, but again, they can opt out. As far as individuals go, you must get their opt-in consent unless they have relied on, or you are relying on, what is known as the soft opt-in when it comes to text and emails, and I'll explain that. A company called Goody Marketing was fined £40,000 after they failed to ensure that texts were sent to individuals who had consented to receive marketing. What is this soft opt-in then? Remember, the soft opt-in only applies when it comes to sending texts or emails to individuals. The normal rule is you have to get positive opt-in. The soft opt-in applies only in the realm of selling goods or services. Now, I notice we have councils, housing associations. You would not be able to rely on the soft opt-in. Charities, it depends. If it's the sale or negotiation for a sale, maybe you've got a charity, but you've also got a commercial arm selling goods or services. Somebody comes along and you take their details as part of a sale or negotiations for a sale. And you tell them, you give them the chance to opt out of marketing, and they don't. And you want to market them with similar goods or services in the future. You can do that. That is known as the soft opt-in. But you've got to give them the opportunity to opt out in every communication. So this primarily will work in the private sector. For example, I go along, I want to buy a new kitchen, I go to B&Q, I have some free drawings done, they take my email address and it says at the bottom, we would like to use this for marketing purposes. Tick this box if you object. And I say, no, it's fine, you can do this. I don't object. Then they can, maybe in the future, market me with similar products or services, maybe a new fridge or a washing machine or a dryer or something along those lines, similar products or services, but I can opt out at any stage. That is known as the soft opt-in, but it only works, yes, Haley, it only works for the purposes of commercial activities. So in your housing association, Haley, if you're offering a commercial service, maybe offering some kind of extra services, I can't think sort of in terms of, I don't know, cutting people's lawns or doing their borders or something along those lines, then that would be a commercial service, in which case you could rely on the soft opt-in. Otherwise, generally, the answer is no. An example of the soft opt-in there, which I will let you read. Remember, even contacting individuals to say, as in the case of a recent, well, from 2017, the case of Honda, where they were fined £13,000 by the Commission under PECR. They sent out almost 300,000 emails to their customers, asking them what kind of marketing information they would like to receive in the future. That in itself was marketing. Money Supermarket was fined for ignoring customer marketing email opt-outs. Sent millions of emails to customers who made it clear they did not want to be contacted. They were fined £80,000. And remember, when it comes to texts and emails, it's not just in terms of consent or opt-in, etc. You've also got to identify who you are. You can't masquerade as somebody else or make it misleading, as in the case of the Park Life Weekender Festival. £70,000. They were fined after people received a promotional text from their mum, even those whose mothers had died. So that's £70,000. So you've got to identify yourself, say who you are in the emails and the text messages. Claire, you've asked a question. What about telecare services? Not quite sure what they are, Claire, so just give me a brief explanation, or alternatively, if you've got a microphone, I can unmute you so you can tell us all what that is and what your question is. Telecare services. Not come across that before. Okay, whilst you tell us what that is, Claire. The e-privacy regulation. Okay, we're going to look at this one. Okay, use of devices for elderly installed in their homes, yes, and basically if they have a fall or something, then they can press the buzzer and somebody on the other end would ring a relative or maybe ring an ambulance, etc. That's right, isn't it? Okay, are you doing marketing there? First question. Okay, you're not doing marketing, so therefore PECR does not apply. Now then, but you are still using that data. It's personal data, you're using it. You've got to go back to the first principles, Article 6. What's your legal basis? Consent, vital interests, etc. And then privacy, etc., etc., all that. So that's straightforward. Claire, you say you want to use it for marketing in the future. I'd be interested to know how exactly, because if it's, how would that work? And then we can sort of look into whether it's, I mean, certainly at the moment, PECR would not apply because you're not using email, phone, text message, but it's exactly, it depends exactly how you're going to do it, Claire. On the face of it, I wouldn't think it's marketing, as in PECR wouldn't apply, but certainly GDPR would apply. So I think you've got to do a data protection impact assessment, and I say feel free to come back to me exactly what you're doing, and I can give you some pointers. Whilst you're doing that, Claire, and feel free to carry on the conversation, no problem at all. Don't forget the e-privacy regulation is on the horizon. Now, it's currently in draft. and the idea is that it will replace PECR. Okay, it will replace PECR. Now then, we're in the throes of Brexit. Will it happen? Will it not happen? God knows. 31st of October is now the long stop date. I don't like to say backstop because we've heard enough of that term in the past few months. It's the long stop date is the 31st of October. If we're out of Europe by the 31st of October, chances are this e-privacy regulation will not apply. If it doesn't happen, or for any reason it is delayed, then chances are that this new e-privacy regulation will come into force, and we will have to comply with it. It's all very much up in the air because it is still in draft. You can read the draft on the EU website. What can you expect? Definition of marketing will still remain the same, but it will also cover new players such as WhatsApp, Facebook, Skype, etc., who also do some form of direct marketing. There will be a single set of rules across Europe because it will be a regulation directly enforceable, not regulations as in the case of PECR. So everybody, just like GDPR, will apply the same rules. There will be, PECR also applies to cookies, those little files which end up on your computer. So the idea is that they know who you are and they can customize your website experience. They say they make it run faster as well. There are rules about cookies. Generally, they need your consent to install cookies on your system unless they are absolutely necessary. Those rules will be simplified. There will be one regulator, the Information Commissioner, same as GDPR, and there will be bigger fines, 20 million euros or 4% of gross annual turnover. The e-privacy regulation is very much in draft and it's all up in the air at the moment. So hence that's the only information I have, or only thing I can really sort of share with you, because things may change. But in terms of the general rules as we know them now, they will be the same, except that other forms of marketing will also may well be covered by PECR as well. If you want to know more, have a look on the ICO website. There's a whole section on marketing. Okay, so Claire, you're saying that we're thinking of telephoning the over 55s from our current tenant database. Right, first thing what you've got to consider is that you've got your tenant database. You gathered the information for one purpose, of course, to arrange tenancies and to make sure that your tenants are properly looked after, etc., etc. You're now using that information to sell them a service. So you go back to Article 6, have you got their consent to do that? Or alternatively, can you rely on legitimate interest? Can you say that, well, this is still part of the original purpose, you're going to keep them safe, this new service will help them live independently, etc. There's an argument to be made that you could do this on the basis of legitimate interest, vital interest, etc., but only you would be able to justify that. So you decide it's not consent, it's legitimate interest, that's okay. But then you are doing marketing and you're doing it by telephone. So what's the rule about telephone marketing? The rule is that yes, it can be done against individuals unless they have registered their telephone number with the telephone preference service, or they have told you they don't want such calls. Now so you need to screen your calls against the TPS, you need to screen your calls against any internal lists, and also operators need to be trained so that if somebody says, I don't want these calls anymore, there must be a central register or a record that you keep, so you don't keep calling them in the future. You've got to identify yourself in terms of who you are, and as I say, you've got to give them the chance to opt out. Okay, in terms of marketing to the elderly, it's also worth having a look at the Direct Marketing Association. I think I've got a code of practice, and also look at this latest decision that I mentioned which has just come out today from the Commissioner about the funeral plan company ringing old people. So it's not that you can't do it, but you've just got to be a bit careful, that's all. Hopefully that helps you, Claire. Anybody else with a question before we go on to do the test? Directed mail, again, this time PECR would not apply, Claire, because PECR does not apply to mail, but you would still have to consider GDPR. Have you got the consent of the individuals, or do you decide it's a legitimate interest that you are pursuing? The harm to the individual is minimal, and in any event, they can object at any time. So PECR, no. GDPR, yes, would apply. Okay, any other questions, folks? Whilst you're thinking, remember we have a test at but before